Now, you would have thought Prince Harry's failed coronation appearance would inspire him to keep a low profile for the foreseeable future. But my next guest insists the Ginger Whinger will be moping back to Montecito with an even bigger chip on his shoulder, with those Californian cruise missiles set to rain down on London even harder than before, fresh off the back of Meghan's high-key PR stunt during the coronation weekend, where she pretended not to have a care in the world, including posing for Paps wearing Princess Diana's watch. Esteemed royal author Tom Bower insists the Sussex psychodrama is about to get even nastier. So, Tom Bower, what are you expecting?
Prince Harry's brief appearance at King Charles' coronation continues to fuel debate, with royal biographer Tom Bower insisting that Harry left the event deeply angry and that the Sussex's ongoing psychodrama is far from over. Prince Harry's attendance at the coronation was already unusual. He arrived alone, did not appear on the palace balcony, and departed the UK almost immediately after the ceremony. At the time, this was framed as a simple, practical decision. But according to Tom Bower, there was more beneath the surface. Bower claims that Harry left the coronation feeling frustrated and angry, suggesting that the experience reinforced his sense of exclusion rather than reconciliation. While these claims are Bower's opinion and not officially confirmed, they have reignited discussion about Harry's emotional state and his relationship with the royal family. The coronation was meant to signal continuity and unity. Instead, Harry's limited role highlighted just how far removed he now is from the institution he once represented. Observers noted that he appeared isolated, seated away from senior royals, with little visible interaction. According to critics, this moment may have been a reality check. For years, Harry has positioned himself as both insider and outsider, connected to the monarchy, yet publicly opposed to it. The coronation, some argue, made it clear that the institution has moved on without him. Tom Bower believes this realization could intensify tensions rather than resolve them. He argues that unresolved grievances, combined with public slights both real and perceived, are likely to fuel further conflict between the Sussexes and the royal household. Bower has also suggested that Meghan Markle's absence from the coronation was part of a broader pattern of distance and strategy. Supporters of the Sussexes reject this view, saying Meghan chose to stay in California for family reasons and to avoid unnecessary scrutiny. Still, the broader question remains. If Harry did leave the coronation angry, what does that mean for the future? Some commentators believe it points to lingering resentment and emotional volatility rather than closure. Rather than easing tensions, the coronation may have hardened positions on both sides. The royal family presented a united front focus on duty and tradition, while Harry's brief appearance underscored his outsider status. Tom Bower insists that this dynamic sets the stage for more turmoil. He argues that as long as grievances remain unresolved and public narratives continue to clash, the Sussex story will only grow more dramatic. Supporters of Harry and Meghan dismiss Bower's assessment as biased and sensational. They argue that speculation about Harry's emotions serves no purpose beyond stoking controversy. But critics counter that Harry's own public disclosures have made his emotions part of the story. Once feelings are shared publicly, they become subject to interpretation and debate. Whether Harry left the coronation angry or simply resigned, the moment appears to have closed a chapter rather than opened one. The ceremony marked a clear line between the working monarchy and those who stepped away. If Tom Bower is correct, the Sussex psychodrama is not approaching an ending, but a new phase, one shaped by distance, resentment, and competing narratives. For now, the coronation stands as a symbolic moment, not of reconciliation, but of separation. And the consequences of that moment may continue to unfold long after the ceremony itself.
I think that, as we predicted, she did a stunt. It wasn't a very good one on Coronation Day. But what's really going to happen now is they will plot something which will really hit the royal family in a way, because I think Harry went back pretty angry, clearly. And what really worries me is that the royal family is now a moving target, a soft touch. Charles showed that he won't answer back. So whatever is thrown at him, he's just going to take it. And I think this is a real danger now.
The thing is, Harry is clearly furious. He clearly feels humiliated. But what else was he expecting? I mean, he was not prepared to go to the coronation lunch. He was not prepared to stay for the concert, for example, which is an opportunity where he could have been in attendance. It was more his sort of thing. So what was he expecting the royal family to do?
Well, he expects them to apologise. he expects them in his naive, stupid way to think that somehow it's all going to fall his way. And on the way back across the Atlantic, he'll have realized it hasn't gone his way and think, well, what am I can I do to make their life really infinitely more difficult and embarrass them? And I think he'll take comfort, as will, unfortunately, Meghan, from those who say that the balcony was too white. They'll take comfort from the fact that somehow they're above. They've thrown in the racist...
well, ITV said it was terribly white.
Terribly white. Shouldn't it be terribly black in a white country? I mean, it is just appalling. And unfortunately, we've reached a point now where the anti-monarchists will keep on pushing this colour issue because the monarchy is easy to touch. We've reached now a point where unless somehow Charles makes it clear that he's not going to sit around defenceless and silent, the anti-monarchists like that, and Hobie, the actress from Bridgetown, Olusaga, the Marxist historian given a free run on BBC, will just keep hitting because they've reached a threshold and they now want to go further.
But the thing is, Tom, so much of that is the fault of Harry and Meghan, spreading what even they admit is false claims of racism within the royal family. I mean, you look at the Bridgerton woman, you look at Olusoga on the BBC and ITV, they are Harry and Meghan allies.
Well, Olusoga was in her Netflix programme. And that's the whole point. They actually, I don't think Harry, because he's not intelligent enough, but Meghan and her Netflix producers clearly see now this is the next step to undermine the monarch Charles, undermine King Charles, and somehow find a way in which they can destabilise Britain.
Do you think that's why Meghan didn't go? Because now she can say, I am not approving of the royal institution. That's why I didn't show up.
Of course. She didn't come because, I put it very simply, she didn't want to curtsy to the Queen and to Kate. But that was just the symbol. The reality is she wasn't going to take part in it. She sees her role as being the leader of the anti-royal faction. And Harry will feel somehow torn, but he'll just go along with whatever it is so he can stay in Montecito and not be homeless and junking around the world. And that is what's so really frightening, that somehow this American woke, anti-establishment, anti-white liberal democracy has now taken hold in Britain, that somehow the royal family, the soft target, is the first hurdle to overcome as the, what can I call the diversity extremists attempt to take over the institutions of this country.
But one worry, Tom, is that it sounds like King Charles, at least when he was the Prince of Wales, is very much listening to those people. This fascinating revelation today from Guito Harry, who was the Director of Communications for Boris Johnson last year. Charles criticises the Rwanda scheme. According to Guito, Boris squares up to him at this Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in Rwanda, but critically also says to Charles, do not give this speech opening the door to historic reparations over slavery. Charles ignores him and goes up on stage and does exactly that. And now he's king and he continues to open the door to historic reparations.
Well, that has always been my great, one of my great arguments against Charles in my book, The Rebel King. It was always that he can't stop meddling. He has opinions. He will not allow his opinions to be challenged. He will never listen to anybody else if it doesn't agree with what he believes in. And he has this view, because he leads a privileged life, that somehow that sort of that Rwanda is wrong. But the truth is that if the Tory government sends the first plane to Rwanda, then Starmer is toast, because suddenly everyone will realise the Tory government can do what they like, what they promised. And this is where King Charles has a great problem. I don't think Prince William will have that, but Charles, having spent 60 years campaigning, cannot stop campaigning. He can't stay quiet. And that is my great fear. And the truth is about King Charles that for years as the Prince of Wales, he took absolutely no interest in the Commonwealth. The Commonwealth is endangered by Prince Charles. He was forced to go to Africa and parts of Asia. And he really has no relationship with the Commonwealth. He doesn't want to travel there really now either. And so I think what we're going to see, which is very interesting, and I think we even saw that today, that King Charles plants a tree up in Sandringham, but Prince and Princess of Wales do the heavy lifting at the garden party.
Well, yeah, I wanted to ask you about William and Kate because they had a spectacular weekend. Very much united behind Charles now. That wasn't always the case, was it? But that is going to be a huge help for the King.
Well, we saw that the moment Harry peeled off, that they delivered a united front and buried their differences, and the differences were...
It's almost like Harry saved their relationship.
Well, saved it. And in the end, it was also survival. I'm sure the Queen said to William, you really got to make up...
The late Queen.
The late Queen, because it's vital for the survival of the monarchy. But I do think that Prince William has a very different approach. He's not an interventionist. He doesn't think about politics and things like his father did. So it's going to be very interesting but also difficult to see how the King will interact with the political leaders and what William will do. Because, of course, Charles, in William's position, didn't stop interfering in politics.
No.
And that's now going to be...
William won't be that stupid. But I think the key question is the one that you've already raised. Will Charles be able to help himself? Because it is notable that one of the first people who he had for a sleepover, for want of a better term, at Windsor Castle when he became king. Apparently he's going to be doing this more often, you know, inviting people from various parts of the world, showbiz, sport, that sort of thing. But the person who he had on the first of these was Keir Starmer and his wife.
Yeah, and he does that because, quite rightly, he's got to pretend or show neutrality. The real problem is, what does he discuss with these politicians? Does he try to influence them, as he did with Tony Blair in favour of fox hunting and things like that? In my view, he will not be able to hold back because he has got such pronounced views. But he will put himself in the firing line of the diversity brigade, of the people who...
Yeah, because it's never going to be enough for them.
Exactly.
It's never going to be enough for them until he's not on the throne.
Exactly.
And that's what he's got to start realising.
Exactly.
Tom Bauer, absolutely brilliant stuff. Thank you, Tom. We'll speak next week.